Hi again, everybody, and welcome to Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. Matt O'Donnell, you've seen him on TV. He is the co-anchor of the morning show on Channel 6 Action News from 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. 3 hours every day, Monday through Friday. And then, if he's lucky, he manages to escape right here to Applebrook Golf Club. He's a member here at Applebrook, a pretty good player, and he loves to play the game whenever he can fit it in. We'll find out about how his career started in broadcast journalism and where golf fits in today. That's next on Inside Golf. The 24th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 50 courses, over 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia, building game changers. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By Gap, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA section, the experts in the game and business of golf, and celebrating their centennial year. Take time to thank your local men and women PGA professionals.
Golf is the great equalizer. For many, this journey is an escape from reality, a chance to be part of a team, a career opportunity. PGA Reach impacts lives through golf by lifting people up, giving them hope, and sending them down an alternate path that they never saw coming. With PGA Reach Philadelphia, as in life and in golf, the most important shot you take is the next one.
Welcome back to Inside Golf. We're at beautiful Applebrook out in Malvern, and our guest, as promised, Mr. Matt O'Donnell. Matt, first
Harry.
of all, good to see you.
Pleasure. My pleasure.
6 ABC Action News, early in the morning, but I love it. I'm an early morning guy, worked early mornings on the radio. You're doing the same thing now for how many years at Channel 6?
Same shift for 17 years. So we're like kindred spirits.
Right.
So we know what it's like on the early side.
It makes the day longer, doesn't it? You have so much to do. Your day gets over roughly midday and then home to the family. And
If you want to maximize the amount of time you can spend outdoors outside of the office, this is where it's at.
yeah, keep it a secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. You know, Matt is a very good golfer. He's going to be humble when talking about it, but I know better. I've done my due diligence to find out about this guy. Member here at Applebrook. So we'll talk about his golf game a little bit later on, but let's talk about your career.
Okay.
And actually, before your career, you're basically a native of these parts, although you grew up, I found out, you were born in Detroit.
Just outside of Detroit, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm a Michigander, but I consider the Philadelphia region my home because I've lived here in more than 3 decades, off and on, now for quite a while. And this is where I choose to live because I just love it. I love the scenery, I love the people, I love the sports teams, I love the sights. I could live anywhere else, but this is my home.
Right, and you're with the #1 TV station in town, so that doesn't hurt.
It helps. Yes,
Absolutely.
it does.
Absolutely. So, tell us about your growing up. High school, you went to high school in the Philly area?
I went to high school at Bishop Shanahan, which at the time was in Westchester. It's now in Downingtown. And we did move temporarily to Virginia, and that's where I finished up my high school. We moved back, and by then I was going to college, went to the University of Delaware. And then I was off to my career.
Okay, and where'd that start?
First stop, Binghamton, New York.
Binghamton. How about that? That was
Yes.
an old Cap Cities, which owned Channel 6 before the ABC merger.
Might have, not the station
a
I
few
worked
other
at.
people came from Binghamton to Channel 6,
Sure.
I know. That's
It was
why
a
I brought
great
that
place
up.
to start.
Right.
Southern tier of New York, a lot of cloudy days, a lot of snow. And so where did I choose to go to for my second job? Syracuse, New York, where you get more cloudy days and more snow. But I worked a lot. I did a lot of overtime. I paid my dues. I did everything. We call them MMJs now, multimedia journalists. I was one of those back in Binghamton where you carry your camera, you drive your own car, you assign your own stories, you come back, you edit it yourself, and you put it all together. You're a one-man band, and that's what I did. And I was glad to do that because it's good to know a little bit about everyone's job.
Absolutely.
So you understand and communicate better.
Yeah, you learned every facet of the business.
Sure.
What was your goal at that time in Binghamton, Syracuse? Was it to get to a major market, obviously, as a general assignment reporter, anchor? What was going on in your mind?
I wanted to return to Philadelphia, and I wanted to work at Channel 6, and that was it. And I didn't know when that was going to happen, but I wanted it to happen, and so everything I did, you know, I get to Binghamton, I'm thinking about my next stop. It's not going to be Philadelphia. It's going to be a larger market. So I got the job in Syracuse, and one day when I was out on a story, I checked my voicemail at the newsroom in Syracuse, and it was the news director at WPVI, Channel 6, asking me to come down for an interview, and
Bingo.
that was one of the best days of my life.
How about that? How about that? So here you are, 17 years later as the anchor of the morning news show, which means you get up in the wee hours of the morning. But for you, it's no problem, because I know from doing it for 38 years at KYW on the radio, I look forward to it. You know why? I never knew what the story of the day was going to be. You had no idea, and I'm sure in this world that we live in now, it's even more magnified.
Yeah, Harry, I totally agree. What I tell people is that the best part of my job is that I tell people stuff they don't know yet. And a lot of times when I am driving in the morning, I don't know what the big story is going to be. And you're also setting the table for the entire day for people. And so there's a lot of importance to what we do in the morning.
Absolutely. I could tell you, I used to get asked the question all the time, what were the biggest stories that you covered? And I know you did interviews with a couple presidents, Barack Obama, Donald Trump. You ever ask Trump about his golf game? Or Obama, he used to play too.
Usually you have a limited time, and
Right.
so golf questions
And it
usually
was probably
don't come
during the
up.
political season, right? They were up for re-election
Yes,
or
yes.
something. Okay, so we'll understand that. But one thing I was fascinated by in looking at your career and the things that you've covered, from presidential interviews to hurricanes to parades of the Eagles and the Phillies, was a trip you made for a short period of time with one of the Blue Angel pilots. Tell us about that.
It was the most miraculous experience I've ever had. It's hard really to describe what it was like, because for most of the time you're up in this plane going so fast and pulling these G-forces and just not wanting to end, because you can't soak in all of the sensory situation all at once. And yeah, I felt things up there that I'd never feel. You're pulling like 5 Gs. This is me weighing 5 times what I weigh on Earth, and flying in this thing that is, you look down on either side of the chair and you're looking straight down at the ground. And we're flying over the Atlantic City and the Atlantic Ocean, and it was awesome.
It's not like your typical flight from Philly to Dallas with, sir, would you like another drink or something like that? Huh?
I never complain about rough landings, because you get beat up there in a
Really?
Blue Angel plane.
Okay.
It's work.
That's one I don't have. I don't even know what's on my bucket list. All right, stay with us. More to come with Matt O'Donnell. We talked about the career, and now we're going to talk about where golf fits into that career. That's next, right here on Inside Golf.
One where the wind comes into play a lot, and it changes.
They're not just familiar faces. They're your friends and neighbors. It's their small businesses, a beating heart that makes a neighborhood a home. The places with a pick-me-up, or a story that inspires, where you can share a taste of comfort with the personal touch that makes our world shine a little brighter. Support small and make a big difference. Make it local. Make it Main Street. Make it Montco.
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues from Applebrook with Matt O'Donnell from Channel 6 Action News. You watch him every morning. I know you do.
Hopefully.
I know 4 a.m. maybe not, but later on, 4 till 7, right before GMA. All right, we talked about the career, how it got started, some of the things you've done, and now we're going to talk. We're ready to go and talk about the game of golf. You're a pretty good player. I mean, let's face it. What's your handicap? That will tell us. What's your handicap index? Somewhere in the single digits?
It's been pretty much solidly in the mid-threes this year.
Mid-threes. So you play it back, unlike guys like me. How'd you get started in the game of golf?
My dad taught me.
Really? At what age?
Probably 11.
Okay.
And told me, hit it as hard as you can, go find it, and hit it hard again.
Okay.
And
really?
Eventually you'll get to the green.
Now, was he a player?
Yeah, I mean, I actually just played with him a couple days ago, and he was out driving me probably into his 60s.
Do you remember the first time you beat him?
He probably does.
It's been a while.
I give him a few strokes these days, but not back then. He was beating me all the time.
That's great. That's great. What is the strength of your game? I mean, obviously, 3 handicap, you have all the shots, but is there one or two in particular?
So, I mean, I always relied on trying to hit it far, and hitting it far is very relative because you take the pros and they're nowhere, they're on another planet. I would be able to hit it over trouble sometimes, but that can only get you so far. And so, really, recently, I worked on short game, worked on putting, but this year I've really been trying to focus on course management, which I think has really helped me more than working on any other individual part of the game. It's knowing where the pin is when you tee off, whether it's a 4 or a 5, and especially a 3. Knowing how to not short side yourself. Knowing when to lay up when you clearly could get over a certain point on a hole, but being in that position shorter might actually be better for you. And so, sometimes putting the driver, back in the bag is a smart decision. So I just try to, they say, you play the hole backwards. Right. Try to think that way, which, golf is backwards. Like the lowest score wins. You hit it down and it goes up, hit up and it goes down, you hit left, goes right. Everything's backwards. So why not, play the hole backwards?
Play the game that way. Bob Rotella, the famed sports psychologist, works with the best pros around the world on tour, amateurs. Wrote a book one time called Golf is Not a Game of Perfect, and it's learning to deal with that, the mental part of it, which is a big part of everybody's game, and I'm sure it is yours as well.
It's really just minimizing the bad aspects of your game and to not have the blow-up holes. And if fewer holes you have like that, you average out a little bit better.
Sure. I always say golf is always about the next shot. Even if the previous shot was a great shot, or the worst shot you ever hit, the next shot is now the most important shot.
Yeah.
You buy into that theory?
Absolutely. Like how people react so poorly after hitting a bad shot? That you shouldn't be surprised about, because poor shots happen a lot in golf. Hitting a great shot is sort of like, wow, I'm going to enjoy that a little bit. So again, you're trying to keep yourself in the ballpark, trying to keep yourself generally where you're aiming. And if you keep that, you get to the hole a lot quicker.
Now, I mentioned Applebrook. You remember here, you play a lot of golf. Most of your golf here at Applebrook, challenging course. You probably, and we were at an event where you were also, the First Tee of Philadelphia had a outing at a fundraiser at the Union League Tarsdale about a month ago. You probably get a lot of requests for that. How do you fit all that stuff into your schedule?
You just try and play as many as possible, and you pick and choose. Like the First Tee is an organization I really like to support because they're trying to grow the game in the urban environment and finding ways for people who may not necessarily be able to afford the equipment or the greens fees or whatever to still enjoy the game, because I think it's a game that, for me, the stresses of life can be left at home when I come out here, and it just, I feel like when you have a hobby like this, when it's so peaceful and you're out there and you're playing a game with other people or even yourself, it balances the moods of life a lot better.
Yeah. What's your best score ever?
Last year I shot a 68 here.
68, which is what,
3 under par.
3 under par.
Probably not the best round I ever had, but it was special.
Well, what made it? So it wasn't your best round, but then how'd you get the 3 under?
I don't know.
You made a lot of putts?
Whenever you play well, you don't. Sometimes you just try to not remember it or try not to focus on it because you just like you want it to end right away. Like I would have loved to have ended the round at the 15th hole. Maybe I was still 3 under at that point. You're just trying to put the blinders on, and so I can't really remember maybe the whole round, but I just remember I couldn't miss a shot.
Okay, we have some of your clubs here.
Yep.
Okay, this here is a 4-iron. If I can get my
Quote
papers.
unquote.
This here is another 4-iron.
Yep.
And this here is a 4 metal.
Sure.
So that's a good poker hand, but why do you have 2 4-irons in your bag and in a 4 metal? Well, everybody maybe has a 4 metal
Sure.
or 5, but what's with the 2 4-irons?
So obviously they don't all go the same distance. This would be the traditional 4.
Okay.
I call it the Quattro.
Okay.
And
This is its twin brother.
This is
Almost.
well, the big brother
Big
here
brother.
is the 4. We call this the Magic 4, and that's because it goes longer. It's actually more of a 2-iron in terms of its loft, and it's also more of a driving iron. And so it's a great club to have if you want to hit something off the tee and you don't want it to go a certain distance or run out. And so it's like a safety club for me here. And then I used to have a 3-wood, and I couldn't hit it. And one day I'm like, well, why do I have a club in my bag that I can't hit? So I went down to a 4-wood, which is more forgiving, and we call this the Magic 4.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh no, the Super 4.
How many
Super
times
4.
do you use this club out here?
It really depends. I mean, this course is one where the wind comes into play a lot, and it changes, and so it really just depends on the way the wind's blowing and where I want to hit it, where the pin is.
Have you ever used the driving 4 and then followed
Sure.
with the 4 metal
Yeah.
and got it on
Yeah,
a par 5?
You just miss it, and only hit it 100 yards, and then you're like 270 yards from the hole, and you got to hit something longer. So sure.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a break. We will be back. We're going to have our teed off panel, and then we'll close out our show today, and maybe we'll get a putting lesson
All right.
from Matt O'Donnell. Okay, maybe we can learn something from the co-anchor of Action News in the morning, Mondays through Friday. Matt O'Donnell here on Inside Golf, but stay tuned. Coming up next, teed off.
The difference to me, if you say, Mike, get about 130, okay, whatever, Harry, I could have 140. It's not going to. These guys that's their world, and that's what they're playing for.
Welcome back. Inside Golf continues with our teed off panel here on the deck overlooking the 18th hole at Lulu Country Club in Upper Dublin. Great weather, great panel. Harry Mays is back with us. Swing It and Ding It guy, daily podcast, busy guy. Harry Mays. Good to see you.
Good to be here, Harry.
Matt Fry, Director of Communications, local Philadelphia section, PGA of America. Good to see you again, Matt.
Thanks, Harry.
Former Philadelphia Daily News writer, golf, college athletics. Mike Kern now is doing, a podcast.
Working the beat, Bettor's Insider, read it, watch it, do whatever you want to do.
Good to have you back on
And it's good to be
Inside Golf.
anywhere. As
There
he
you
said,
go.
It's good to be here. It's good to be anywhere.
Good to be seen, as they say. Harry, is it me or more and more are we seeing too much conversation among tour players and their caddies? By that I mean guys will be sitting over a 130-yard shot and they're back and forth with the wind, placement of the pin. I get all that, but it just seems to me like, big emphasis recently was pace of play. All of a sudden, things just die down. I don't care if I have to hear all that conversation. To me, it's like, come on, guys, hit the shot.
I actually kind of like it. I like the banter between some of the players and their caddies, like Jordan Spieth and his caddy, Michael Greller. I think I can't get enough of that. Different strokes, I guess. But there's more data out there for these guys to analyze, and I think that's really the core of the problem. They've got all kinds, like you said, the wind. They've got books that have every bit of shred of information of that piece of property that they're analyzing that they could go through. They could go through it for days. So I think if you want to eliminate it, you got to eliminate green books would be a good start. But I like the interplay between some of these guys. I like to hear what the thought process is.
Right. Pretty soon, eventually, I don't know, do you think the PGA Tour is going to allow the rangefinders? But if they do, can you imagine, what is it to that tree over there where that woman is standing in front of the concession? It's like, come on, Matt. What do you say on this argument?
You know, I kind of see it both ways. It kind of breaks up the golf telecast where it's something different to hear. However, the thing that I worry about is it bleeding into amateur golf and slowing pace of play at the club level, right? So I don't think it's a problem now, but I would hate for average golfers who have no business taking that much time on one shot, you know, asking their local caddy about the wind and the, you know, is it coming in or out, or how fast the green, which way is the green. We got to keep things moving to keep the game fun.
Yeah, I get what was said earlier, Mike, about how it's interesting to hear the give and take between a caddy and a player. But it brings to mind, you know, like people go to a game not to see or hear a referee, they want to see the players. You know, not to equate a caddy with a referee, but you get my drift
look,
here?
how long does it take a pitcher to throw a pitch sometimes?
Oh,
I mean, so
an eternity.
What are these guys playing for? They're playing for millions of dollars. They're going to take the extra 20 seconds to, in their world, to, you know, the difference to me, if you say, Mike, you had about 130, okay, whatever, Harry, I could have 140. It's not going to these guys are, that's their world, and that's what they're playing for. How many times do you ever see guys get warned about slow play or penalized for slow play?
Not enough.
Not enough, never. It hardly ever happens. So until the PGA Tour is going to come in and say, hey, guys, we're going to start enforcing these things. But you've seen on Sundays when a guy, like the last group, will be a hole and a half behind the group ahead of them. They never say anything. But every once in a while, they'll say, hey, you know, it's just golf. It's like they're not going to change because they're out there, and their argument to you would be, I'm trying to win a golf tournament. And don't tell me how I'm supposed to work with my caddy.
Oh, I get it. And don't forget, if they win, the caddy gets a little more in his back pocket. So, you know, maybe that little last sentence
except
is going
for
to
Matt
mean,
Kuchar.
Yeah, well.
you can't stand to be corrected. You are correct, sir. You are correct, sir. But, you know, pace of play. I mean, I think once it dribbles down to the amateurs, and I don't think it ever will. It may be among elite amateurs who have steady caddies, but that's one of the good things playing out of a cart. I can't ask for any advice, nor do I want any advice from a mechanical cart, right? But what do you think about pace of play? Is it infringe on it, but you still want to hear the conversation?
Yeah, I do. I just kind of like it. You know, I like to hear what their thought process is and all the things that go into dialing a shot down to a foot. I mean, these guys have their yardages dialed down that tightly to a yard. I mean, it's incredible. I just find it amazing, and I can't get enough of it, Har.
You just wish they could do it a little quicker.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is that you
well, Matt, you're out. You see local pros virtually every week in events, and a lot of them have steady caddies. Whether it's a spouse or just somebody from their club, it's on their bag. Do you see much more of that give and take week after week?
Well, people with their steady caddies, they kind of get the flow, and the pros are a little different. The club pros are a little different in that they're usually pretty quick. They're usually pretty quick players because they're ready to go back to work when they play, right? And don't get me wrong, I think caddies are a great part of the game, and I wish they were more prevalent in today's game. I wish they were more available and more people would take them because it's healthier to walk, and it's a different experience. It's so good.
Mike brought up about slow play being enforced. How does the local section handle that?
Well, we have we warn people, and if it happens if they get 2 or 3 warnings, we will penalize. And
how far do they have to be behind for you to step in and say something?
Well, I think it's like 4 minutes out of position. I could be wrong about that. I'd have to check the tournament manual.
And then you put them on like a 40-second clock or something like that?
We don't do a shot clock.
Okay.
We keep an eye hole by hole.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to close this segment with a quote from Ben Hogan. I don't know if he said it, but in lore, he said it, and it sounds great, and a little bit tied into this topic. He was one time playing. He asked his caddy, how far is it? Caddy said, it's either 152 or 153, and Hogan said, which is it? That's it. End of sentence. I'm sure Hogan went on to hit a great shot. Thanks for joining us for Teed Off. We'll be back with more of Inside Golf in just a moment.
There's more to the ultimate driving machine than you might think. Multiple forces converging to create something uncontainable. Introducing the ultimate first-of-its-kind machine. The ultimate hair-raising machine. And the ultimate peace of mind machine. BMW, the ultimate driving machine. Hurry in to lease a 2021 BMW 330i xDrive sedan for $439 per month.
All right, it's time to close out our show with Matt O'Donnell here at Applebrook. But before we do, Matt and I are going to have a little putting contest here in the putting green at Applebrook, huh?
Yeah, you're a good
Now, you're a home guy, so this is a home field advantage, I guess, but anything can happen. Go ahead. You have the tee, so to speak.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
It's only about, what, 10-foot putt?
Yeah.
You make this in your sleep.
We'll see.
Famous last words. Oh, my goodness. Okay, the door is open, Harry. Let's see what you can do with it. That didn't move too much, did it, Matt? You took it up that left side? Got to hit it, though. Got to hit it. Did he hit it? Oh, look at that. How do you leave it? That's like leaving a birdie putt short. Tap in. You're good. My friend, thank you very much.
Thank you. It's a
Enjoyed
pleasure
it.
to talk to you.
We learned a lot about this guy, didn't we, folks? Matt O'Donnell. And he's on every morning, Monday through Friday, 6 ABC Action News at 4 a.m.
You got it.
Gives him a chance to maybe improve his putting stroke a little bit. Just kidding. Thanks, Matt. Hey, thanks for joining us on Inside Golf. I'm Harry Donahue. Remember, no matter how bad it's going for you out there, don't pick up. We'll see you next week on Inside Golf. The 24th season of Inside Golf is presented by Destination Montco Golf. 50 courses, over 300,000 yards. Check them out at montcogolf.com. By the First Tee Greater Philadelphia, building game changers. The First Tee not only helps young men and women become better golfers, but most important, better people. Get involved. Visit firstteephiladelphia.org. By Gap, celebrating amateur golf since 1897. By Jersey Man and Philly Man Magazine, a digital publication and private business network. Read the current issue free at jerseymanmagazine.com. And by Inside Golf's partner since 1998, the Philadelphia PGA section, the experts in the game and business of golf, and celebrating their centennial year. Take time to thank your local men and women PGA professionals.